Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Ben Olson. That's Nathan Fox. Together, we're the founders of LSATdemon.com and our weekly podcast, Thinking LSAT. We have an email here from Boomer. Okay.
Boomer says, "Dear Nathan and Ben, I got a lot of book learning in me. So when I started studying for the LSAT, it was demoralizing to meet a foe who could KO me in one punch. As Mike Tyson said, quote, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, end quote. And after my first bout with the LSAT, I was spitting blood, and my plan looked like a dropped bowl of alphabet soup." Mixing metaphors there.
Yeah.
But the first month of the LSAT Demon Live has helped already. I went from A, getting 3 right on logic games in February, self-studying with the LSAT trainer and whiffing, to B, getting 13 right on a logic game section last week after 2 weeks with LSAT Demon Live. It's almost like too good to be true, right? Like it sounds like a ridiculous amount of improvement, but it's not, because instead of all this like technical mumbo jumbo, Boomer has started to learn that the test makes perfect sense and you just have to slow down and figure that shit out. Our whole philosophy is like, well, okay, look, read it carefully, try to connect some dots. Don't worry so much about like semantics and formal logic, and you have to make diagrams that look exactly like, figure out what type of game it is first. Come on, you don't need to do any of that bullshit. You stop getting so stuck in game types. God damn it. Instead, just read it carefully. It's always a reading comprehension test first. Read it carefully, figure it out.
Yeah.
That might sound like impossible for sure. I mean, getting 3 right on logic games in February.
That's bad.
Not only is it bad, it's worse than random chance.
Yep.
You're repelling the correct answers somehow. You would do better if you randomly guessed. It's amazing that people do that badly, right? I mean, what happens is they just freeze up and don't even finish the section. They just give up. They tap out because Mike Tyson punched them in the mouth. But you're not fighting Tyson. You're fighting, this is Glass Joe. And
these are games in the newspaper. If you encountered them in the newspaper, you'd probably do better if you just like had fun with it.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. If this was like the New York Times latest addition to their, repertoire of games, you just, oh, what? Huh? And you'd figure it out. It's like, not, they are not hard. The LSAT is easy. So like to go from 3 to 13 on logic games, you need to believe that the LSAT is easy.
Yeah.
Because it is. So welcome, Boomer. And I've seen people go from 3 to 13 to 23.
Yeah.
And we have them in our class right now. There's people who show up at my live class who went from low single digits on the games to perfect every time on the games. And you're on your way, Boomer. So congratulations and welcome.
Yep.
Boomer says, "That's far from the perfect I need, but it's progress, and the progress heartens me." As it should. 10 LSAT points, Ben, in 2 weeks. Or 10 logic games points, which probably is 10 points, huh? On the new test where there's only 75 questions.
Yeah.
Every question is a point, right?
Yeah.
Roughly? Okay. "Drilling and watching videos in an active way have been key. Sorry. Mama birds don't lecture their chicks on aerodynamics before they push them out of the nest. They just see that they have feathers and get them to learn to fly by flying. That's what LSAT Demon does. No meta theory, no shortcuts, no bullshit, just flying." Do you agree with that? We're on metaphor 3 at least in Boomer's email. What do you
Boomer,
think of metaphor 3?
You have lots of metaphors, but I have to agree with this. Just do it. Just do a practice problem and learn from your mistakes. And that's how classes are too. It's not like we get up there and we're like, okay, so I'm going to explain to you the theory of games. It's like, do this game and then we'll walk it through it together. And I'm sure anything you're confused about will make a lot more sense when we're working through it together. And now you get it because it's an example and we learn from examples. This is not true just on the LSAT. It's true almost universally. People learn better from examples.
100%. It's like, that's why you crashed and burned with the LSAT trainer, I guess, is that it's just like theoretical and all this like well, you better learn these diagramming techniques first. You better don't do practice tests. Do like, no. We're flipping that.
Yeah.
Do practice tests. Because here's the thing. If we push you out of the nest and you crash, you don't break your neck like you do if you're a bird.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is true that like some of them don't make it. Right? Like, the ones that fly. And I guess most of them manage. But some of them, you'll see it below the nest, just dead. So
anyway,
well, that doesn't happen on the LSAT. Like, what is there's no penalty. Now, don't go take the official test. But practice tests, come on, there's 100 of them. Take a practice test, see how you do, or take part of a practice test, see how you do. One question, see how you do.
Yep.
Learn as much as you can. You might crash. Yeah, that's part of learning. Yep. I mean, it's like learning to ride a bike is the perfect analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, think about that, like reading about the theory of riding bicycles.
Oh, you didn't do that?
Oh, God. Yeah. Can you imagine? Do you teach your kids how to ride a bike?
Like, no, I put them in front of YouTube and I said, okay, we're going to learn how balance works.
Study the physics of it first. Let me see the mathematical proof of what a bicycle wheel does when it's spinning. Yeah. Anyway, you crash a couple times and then you get the feel for it. And then you realize there's nothing to it. And that's how we get dramatic improvement out of our students, is that we kind of coach them to they're wobbly and then eventually they're riding down the street by themselves. Yeah. Right. So you're on your way, Boomer. And that's fantastic to hear. That said, Boomer continues, 2 quotes have been helpful. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. I never say that one. Do you say that one?
No, I'm worried. So I'm thinking about this actually, because I was reading ahead. I do think that there's a tension here, and that is that we do want people to practice as best they can, right? They're aiming for accuracy, because I don't want people developing bad habits. I don't want someone to be tired and then to practice shitty, in a shitty way, or someone to go quickly so they can check off boxes and be like, well, I drilled 5 logical reasoning questions today. Yeah, it's like, that's not the goal. The goal is to do the best you can on a question and then learn from that, and then do the best you can on the next question, and so on. So I think there is a point here, right? Perfect practice makes perfect. Practice itself, especially if it's shitty, is not going to make you perfect. In fact, it's going to reinforce that shittiness. So I think there's some value here. My fear is that people read perfect practice makes perfect, and they're so afraid to make mistakes that they don't practice, or that they, it's like, it becomes an analysis paralysis thing. And it's like, yeah, what about the 85% rule? Tell people not to do 100%, but 80% of their running speed, and they'll end up running. And they'll end up running faster. Right. So I like, there's some truth here. I'm just worried how this could be interpreted.
Sure. I mean, that's an aphorism that I never have used and will not use. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. You will hear me say that again, because the LSAT's easy, and that's very much like the 85% rule, right? If you just dial it back a little bit and just kind of focus on the easy stuff and just keep, what's in front of you, read it carefully. Do you understand? Figure out what they're asking you. Do you understand that answer? No? Okay, well then probably not going to pick that one.
Yeah.
Do you understand this answer? Yeah. Does it answer the question? Yeah. You sure? Yeah. Okay, that's the answer. It's easy. The test is easy, but you have to make it make sense. It has to click. I would not be focusing on perfection. Now, in review, maybe I would, right? In review, once you've missed a question, then let's spend time on it. Let's make sure we get to that click.
Yeah.
Well, that's what proper review is about.
That's what proper review is about. And though proper practice, right? Because we don't want people just coming in there and firing off answers,
cavalierly making mistakes. Yeah.
And just trying to check boxes, right? There's so many people who are like, okay, I did 2 sections today. It's like, they feel like that's their determinant of success. Like, I did this and I've been doing 2 sections every day for the last month. It's like, yeah, but how are you doing those sections? Are you practicing those sections well? Because that's ultimately what you're going to be getting better at.
Yeah. Well, what did you get? What are you confused about? Right? Like, you did 2 sections? Good. What are you confused about in those 2 sections?
Yep. There's a lot of questions there. A lot
Yeah,
of
because if
learning.
your answer is nothing, bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit. You're what? Really? 2 whole sections, and so perfectly, you could perfectly explain to me exactly why the right answers are right and exactly why the wrong answers are wrong. There was never just like, well, that's a better fit than that one. So moving on. There's no way you're not confused if you did 2 sections. You're not an LSAT teacher. Our teachers are confused. I'm confused. Ben's confused.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you should be confused sometimes about a couple.
Yeah.
If you're really getting in there, you're going to find those areas of uncertainty. And that's where the real progress comes from. So you do have to be careful enough to find those areas when you're reviewing.
Yeah.
Anyway, Boomer continues. It's an unsexy, unvarnished truth that you just have to do the work. But the demon has made that work interactive, social, and manageable. That's awful nice. Thanks, Boomer.
Yeah.
What's the point of all this? Just to say what's worked for me already and to express some gratitude. So thanks, sincerely, Boomer. P.S. I can't help but include one more quote.
Boomer, you are a reader.
3 quotes, and here comes 3. This is aphorism number 3.
Okay.
Cry in the dojo, laugh on the battlefield.
Okay, so like, work hard and prepare before the fight, and then therefore
humiliate
be victorious
your opponents
and
on the
therefore
battlefield
laugh.
because you're such a badass because of all the work you did in the dojo.
Yep.
With no in real life test dates, we can't take Nathan's advice of laughing at the scrubs who haven't prepared. So this is because of my thing of like, when I used to take in-person standardized tests, I definitely would pause before the beginning of the section and look around the room.
Yeah, I do kind of miss that experience
of like game on.
Yeah, well, you're walking into this school, and there's all these people frantically holding their LSAT tickets, and they're trying to get checked in, and then I still remember standing in line, and the person in front of me was reviewing a Kaplan question type cheat sheet. It was
before
like a card
the test.
Before the test.
God.
And I think they turned around and asked me a question like, "Hey, do you know something about these strengthening questions or something like that?" And I'm just thinking cramming? Like, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, well, enjoy today's exam. I don't know what I said to them. I don't remember, but it's in some ways it's a confidence booster. You're like, wow, half these people, they are lost.
Yeah, it was great in person because you could see the people, like the guy who shows up with literally a full box of pencils.
Yeah, pencils. Yeah, sharpened, like pre-sharpened,
full box of pencils. Really? Like, how many of those do you plan on going through? That is amazing.
1 per question. You're gonna really like. You got a lot of tension on that graphite there.
Yeah, people with their LSAT books and like people crying, freaking out. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't want to be mean about it, but it's like Steph Curry stepping onto the basketball court before a game, Like, you see Steph and he's like nodding and feeling it, and like he's fucking ready to go because he's like, well, I am the best player out here, so I got him on the best team. I mean, we're gonna kick your ass, so let's do this.
Yeah,
and that is the feeling. If you can, that's what we're going for. Obviously, Boomer is correct. The more prep you do, the more likely it is that you're gonna feel that on the day. The people who end up scoring in the 170s, and we have a hell of a lot of them, end up. They end up loving the test, and they've done all the prep, and they walk in there. Well, they walk into their own office at home, sit down at their own desk, feeling like, okay, I'm ready for this. This is just another practice test. I've crushed a million of them. I know I can do this. Bring it on. Yeah. And that feeling, it's a good feeling, and it can be developed with the right kind of prep. So Boomer is definitely on the way. Anything more for Boomer?
No. Thanks for writing in. Email daily@lsatdemon.com if you'd like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.